Our next speaker, Terrence Popp, Green Beret, Airborne Ranger, Paratrooper, Infantry Soldier, former professional fighter, college graduate, author, poet, warrior, comedian. Worked in the following professions: soldier, fighter, financial planner, investment banking, mortgage banker, real estate agent, retail. Has received the following awards: 2 times Purple Hearts, 2 times Combat Infantry Badges, Airborne Wings with Combat Jump Star, Expert Infantryman's Badge, Green Beret, Ranger Beret, FFKA North American Champion Belt 1998. Entered the Army as an infantryman in 1986. After only 5 months, he was top 50 caliber gunner, a top MK-19 gunner in his battalion, expert with M16, expert with M203 grenade launcher, expert with pistol, expert with M60 MG, expert with the SAW, and took 3rd in Soldier of the Division in 1987. One of 3 enlisted soldiers to be sent to airborne school from a straight-leg infantry division since the closing of the Vietnam conflict. He was wounded in Panama while involved in an operation. He was run over by an enemy truck within 30 seconds of landing on the drop zone and still fought all night with a dislocated right hip, torn knee, tendons, and a 3rd-degree sprained ankle, not to mention the concussion sustained when struck by a vehicle moving at speed. Wounded by an IED in Iraq. He was called a murderer and assassin in court, and his wounds were used as a basis to justify the loss of his children. In 2005, Popp was a man leading 159 soldiers in combat. By 2007, he was living out of his car, homeless. He was written off by his wife, his country, his family, and had to come to grips that as a man, he was totally and completely expendable. He spent over $20,000 of his own money for rehabilitation equipment and therapy to fix his mind. He is the author of The Warrior's Way and The Soldier's Soul and runs www.redonculus.com with over 52 videos posted, including the award-winning Purple Heart's Last Beat. His story is not done yet either, not by a long shot. Please put your hands together for Terrence Popp. You're good.
Am I on? Is my mic working? Yep. All right. Well, that's a good introduction. What are you going to do? All right. Let me get started. First, I am honored to be here. I pulled some strings for this venue to be at this location. Yeah, when I learned that it was being taken from the DoubleTree, I was, I don't know, I got kind of pissed off. And, I'm not the guy that you want to piss off, I guess. Hey, Sergeant Meyer, could you bring my bag up here? I left some stuff in there. All right, yeah, what can I say? As a person over the past 28 years who has been, in the military system, I've seen firsthand a lot of the carnage and waste that takes place during this fiasco that we're going to call family court. Stand by. Alrighty. Did I bring the wrong stuff? I guess it did. Oh, well. All right. Game on. I guess we're winging it. All right, I can do that. All right, so we've already gone through the introduction. All right. I want to set the stage for the video we're going to show here. All right. As he covered, in '07 when I wrote this, I was probably at the lowest I could possibly be in my life. I was, at that time, very disenfranchised. I had given my blood, my life, my soul to my country under the false belief that if I were to ever enter the legal system, that I would be treated fairly, and the Constitution, which I have sworn a blood oath to defend, would apply to me. But nothing could be further from the truth.
That's right.
I mean, we're all here. I mean, it's crazy. I'd like to start the video. Could I have everybody back there on your feet to come forward and fill the seats up here? Because this is just a small screen, and there's a lot of detail that you're going to miss out on. Also, this is a fictional representation of something that is going on 25 times a day out there in the real world. Now, I'm not going to, kill you with statistics. We've already gone over a male is 4 times more likely to commit suicide as soon as he hits the age of 18. Then it doubles into their 20s. And then the divorced male goes up. The last studies I saw was like 13 to 15%. So it's only a logical jump to assume that members of the military, and especially veterans, would fall into this bracket, this barber pole, this range fan, I want to call it. Now imagine coming back from war, having your, are these on? Yeah. Your wife go, yeah. I'm trying to think of a good way for this, but I'm a comedian, so what's going to say, went cuckoo for Cocoa Penis Puffs. Crazy for some Rice Krispie treats and a couple of Polish sausages thrown in there. I'm just saying the situation was unrecoverable. Tried to work with it, but couldn't. I mean, what are you going to do? So, I filed for divorce. She filed for divorce. Mine got there 20 minutes before hers, so they had to use my paperwork. My paperwork was very amicable. Okay, I was like, Grant, got it. You're going off the deep end. You're having whatever crisis you're having. Got it, cool. We're going to drive on. I'm going to have half my kids' lives. You do what you do, and I do what I do. But no, she wanted the check. Okay, she was willing to sacrifice all of that time for a check. So the games ensued. I left on a 3-week mission because I was unemployed. I got put on short-term orders to go run a few machine gun ranges for a military brigade. And when I returned, I walked in the door and was greeted by my 2 daughters, who were very young at the time. Well, my 6-year-old chocolate lab ranger was missing. And when I inquired to where my dog was, I was greeted with a cold look and an answer, I told you I did not want you living here. Needless to say, I never saw the dog again. Okay, so you have the PTSD, the TBI issues. Now I'm getting divorced. You took my dog, all my money, my home, and left me in a lurch. Now, if she had a dog and that dog disappeared, I would go to jail. But that didn't even come up. They wouldn't even discuss it. It was just a piece of property. No matter what the dog meant to me. And I took that as a warning that if this person who I had known for a third of their life could serve me up such a harsh and vicious betrayal, she could do anything. So to this date, I only communicate with her via text or email. My policy is, you don't get within 30 feet of me, you don't enter my property. If it can't be put on a printer or subpoenaed into court, it does not happen. Because the VAWA laws are real, and they're ending military people's careers, law enforcement men's careers, at alarming speed. Okay, so can I dim the lights? Can we start the video?
I remember the letter I got from my wife while I was in Iraq. She said she wasn't happy.
I just came home to a hero's welcome. I came home to the echo of an empty house.
I lived with my children for 8 years.
I raised them when my wife worked.
I fought for joint custody.
I was called a murderer and an assassin in front of a judge.
Why should I miss out on raising my children just because she isn't happy?
I make $45,000 a year. She makes 40.
After taxes, child support, child care, health care, I have $18,000 a year left to live on.
I followed the rules. I went to the so-called friend of the court for some relief.
They just said, it's the law.
When I got laid off from work, I went there again, 4 times. Showed them the paperwork, and each time they told me I was in skilled trades and it should be easy for me to find a job.
I guess they don't live in the real world. I had to pay the child support with my 401k.
10 years I saved for my retirement. She got half, and the rest got spent to keep me out of jail.
Then the money ran out. She's not happy, so now I live in poverty.
The court has no problem slapping me in jail when I can't pay my child support, but she hasn't let me see my kids for a year, and when I go in front of a judge 6 times, all she gets are warnings.
She's not happy, so now I can't see my children.
Because she's not happy, I'm a felon.
Because she is not happy, now I must go to prison.
I got called up to go to war for my country.
I got sent 7,000 miles away to bring freedom to those oppressed.
Now my country has stripped me of my children.
Now my country has forced me into poverty and servitude.
Now my country has turned me into a criminal and has doomed me to prison.
All because she was not happy.
deserve this.
All right. That was, I was down, okay, cool. We good here? All right. If you see, this is dedicated Major Lance Waldorf. Just want to give you a brief history on this particular individual. When he was the first lieutenant, he was assigned to Company F425 Airborne Infantry. He was my platoon leader and I his platoon sergeant. Now, if you are so fortunate enough, when you are a new lieutenant, to have a good platoon sergeant, he will make or break your career. He will teach you what is not in the books, the wisdom between the pages, and guide you through your successful command, which you will carry on for your military career. I was that man for him. He succeeded at his job. I spent 10 months to a year with him. We froze, we starved, we did airborne operations. We did everything soldiers do. I knew him, he knew me. He was like a brother to me. Okay, and the truth behind this video you see here, this was going to be my suicide. All right? I had planned it out. You know, I'm a methodical kind of guy. I had written 138 letters to be disclosed to my daughters over their lives till the birth of their first child. And I had put 2 lawyers on retainer, one to fight for my life insurance and to administrate a trust, and then the other to handle the letters. My punch-out date was June 6, 2008. Major Lance Waldorf went to the Holly National Cemetery and shot himself on June 2nd. So my platoon leader took the bullet that was meant for me. All right, that was, it was 8 years ago. I ran his funeral. I organized his taps in 21, his rifle squad, flag detail, watch at the crypt. I saw firsthand how devastating that this was, and it changed my course of action. That I would not go down so easily. I would not pick a permanent solution to a temporary problem. I would persevere, and I moved on. And that's when I did a few more videos under secondclasscitizen.org, but I had a real hard time dealing in the negative. So, you know, since I suffered a TBI, I lost my ability to sleep. I said, why not use my extra time that I have to do something positive? So I started redonkulous.com. And all of the subjects that were talked about here today, I touch on, and I do so in a comedic light. And they are my therapy. They make me feel better, number one. Number two, if they make somebody else feel better, or they learn something, it's a win. Okay, and even if they're entertaining, there's another win, so it's a win-win-win. Okay, there's a few other things I want to go over here. Now, I know that video, some people are very upset, and that's what's going down every single day. I would like to go over the Soldier Sailor Relief Act in regards that I'm glad it was passed, but there are some things that we need to know. That particular law has no teeth. There are no punitive measures mentioned within that law, either it be directly or indirectly, and it is violated by the family court system on a regular basis. And a lot of times these judges will say, I did not know anything about it. Well, if you go into a court and you say, well, I did not know about the law, I recall some words, ignorance of the law is no defense. And I think that should apply to the people who administer it. I think they should be up to speed on that. All right, so I dissect things using math since I worked in that field for a while. If you have a child and you fight for custody, you'll probably lose because they've already gone over a lot of the stats. I think it's a 85-15 split, what's going on right now. And they don't take into effect that of that 15% of the time that custody is awarded to the male, 5 to 7% of that time he is awarded that because it is uncontested. So in reality, when you really look at the numbers, it's 93-7. All right? Now, in any other field or any other area in this country, if you were to pull out those statistics, you would get crucified. Flat out. It is what it is. It is discrimination. You walk into court with a peg D between your legs and a couple of seed pumps, and you're a loser. Am I wrong? I don't have a PhD. I don't have a master's degree. I just have a bachelor's degree in public administration, and I explain things a little more colorfully than the average person. Okay, now in regards to the veterans out there, I mean, I've been looking at the statistics, and the lowest statistic I could find for male homelessness was 67%. I know, that's above 50%, but that's a little light in my book. And of some of those statistics, I got this one from a credible study. I believe it was done by the VFW and the American vets, that of those male population, 32 to 40% at one point or another served in the military. Now, okay, now what is going on? We have to ask these questions. We have to raise the flag and ask why. Have it studied. I want to know what's going on. There's a failure somewhere, and it needs to be corrected. Okay? Let's see. I want to bring to your attention a Matthew Hines, who was stationed somewhere in the Pacific in a submarine. This was going around in Facebook. I got this 2 days before I came out here. And apparently, a Judge Margaret No had put a bench warrant out for his arrest to come to his custody battle for his little girl, which he had custody of before he deployed to sea. And the mother of the child had lost custody for unfit parent. Yeah, good words. I was going to use something more cuddle. And I'm going to be first to tell you that the Navy is not going to surface a nuclear sub and bring it to port so one of their soldiers can make it to court because of Judge No has failed to read the Soldier-Sailor Act and needs to be held accountable. Well, Matthew Hines, I have put all the fish in the water and all guns to bear in your situation. And hopefully we'll see some resolution on this. I am not a politician. I'm just a dude that suffers from EGS and a little bit of early onset of OCD, and that would be evil genius syndrome and early onset of old creepy dude. Okay, so, and I want to also mention, and this one I found particularly disturbing to me, and also helped nail home the fact that my original course of action was wrong. It would have meant nothing except nothing but heartbreak and misery to my children and my immediate family and friends. I want to bring your attention to a Thomas James Ball, born February 21st, 1953, and he died on June 15, 2011. Mr. Ball was drafted and sent to Vietnam, where he served honorably. He was discharged with full honors and benefits. He decided to make the ultimate sacrifice and committed suicide by self-immolation on the steps of the very system that was oppressing him as well. And in the end, he was called a terrorist. How dare he? How dare he set himself on fire and try to make a statement that something is radically imbalanced here. Okay, and this whole journey that I've been on has helped me to see that in any system, be it your individual life, be it your club, military, government, world, you have yin and you have yang, and there needs to be a balance. And right now we are not. Okay? The question and the answers are all before us. We have the largest prison population on the earth. And there's a lot of information you can get from them because they're not going anywhere. The answers are there. You just ask them. And people have, but nobody has listened. I've seen the studies, and they're not pretty. Okay, and my final point here is a statement made thousands of years ago during ancient Greek by a man called, I think it's Heracles. And back then, when you hit the age of some of the areas 15, some 16, they would put you together in lots of 100. And in his youth, this was done to him. And when he reached the age of 30, he was expected to train his share of lots, because that whole military worked off of a phalanx. And these are his words, and I've actually seen them come true when it was my turn to train soldiers. Out of every 100 men, 10 of you shouldn't even be there. 80 of you, you're just targets. 9 of you, you're the real fighters, and we are lucky to have you. But one will be a warrior, and it will be his job to bring you home alive. And I am that warrior. With that, are there any questions of me? Go.
Okay, your stats on Okay, your stats on custody granted to fathers. Okay, that includes all awards of custody, sole custody to the father. My question is, and I can never seem to find this one, after a full custody trial only, what are the stats on granting custody to the father after a full family court custody trial? And I can't find that stat anywhere.
I can answer that question. Most of the time, you will never get to a full trial in a divorce hearing. When you do, I don't think anybody's tracking that. I do have a friend of mine, I will not mention his name, who went through I think it was a 4-year battle for the custody of a daughter that he had discovered was born out of wedlock. And he eventually got custody, but it cost him, I think we put the numbers together, somewhere over $130,000 in legal fees. The average person doesn't have the kind of money to go to trial. I certainly did not.
What's the answer, though? What is the rate of custody to father after a full-blown custody trial, no settlement, judge order?
I would have to look into that. I do not know.
I can't find it.
I can't find it either.
No.
That's a good question. Anyone else?
Yeah, hi. I don't have a question. I just wanted to say thank you.
All right. Yes.
First, thank you for your service. And secondly, the statistic that 70% of those who were deployed are divorced by the time they return and 90% within 5 years, where did you find that statistic?
Well, first of all, that particular statistic is from my personal observations. Maybe it's different for the military in general, but combat troops, men that are up in the front lines or subject to high deployment rate, is very, very close to that number. Again, I'm just speaking here as a dude, and these are my observations in my opinion.
Once again, just wanted to say thank you for your service. I spent 6 years in the military as well, and that's how I got into this movement, is because I've noticed a lot of military fathers, the very system that they were sworn to protect screws them in the end when they come back home. And so I want to say that, once again, thank you for your service. But my question is that I'm sure you've heard the term ICMI, and
Oh, yeah.
My question is, how is the ICMI different from, when it comes to family court, how is it different from civilian court, and meaning that in a sense of child custody? Because from what I understand is that soldiers have an even harder time in family court than civilian.
Correct. I actually talk about this in Administrative Violence 1 on redonkulous.com on how to handle situations. Now, from my observation in my times, it usually did not go well for the service member when they're involved or embroiled in a bitter divorce or custody battle. So let me just set the record straight. I've been a team leader, 4 different teams, squad leader for about 6 squads, platoon sergeant for 5 different platoons, a first sergeant for 4 companies, one of which was in Abu Ghraib prison in 2004 in the Sunni Triangle, belly of the beast. I have seen over and over and over again the same patterns. If you are in the service and you have children and you go through a divorce, a large portion of these service members will opt to get out of the service to follow their children. Okay, and now I have to go find a new person to replace them, and he might have a bunch of other experience that is irreplaceable and I cannot put a dollar amount to. I have, one individual I speak with on a regular basis who after 12 years went through a bitter divorce, there were some false allegations. He was barred from reenlistment, and his career came to an end. Now, this particular individual was a SIGINT intelligence guy with the highest level of access, who can read and write four Asian dialects and speak an additional 8, and that meant nothing. You can't replace a guy like that. Okay, now, I've also seen, and I was privy to some of the soldiers' chain of command making unreasonable requests and demands, which fell out of the scope of their command. Now, fortunately for those particular individuals, I was within earshot, and I raised a hand and said, oh, wait a minute. We're not going to have him give all kinds of money and do all kinds of things unless there's a court order. If we follow the law, if there's court order, we do it. If not, there's a JAG, and there is other avenues, the civilian avenues that need to be addressed first. But there are times when the service member's chain of command doesn't have knowledge of what's going on and makes unreasonable demands of the service members. It does get much harsher. That's why another reason they get out. It's very devastating. Anybody else? Yeah. You can shout out.
Have you seen any instances of paternity fraud in the military?
Okay. Paternity fraud.
Have you seen any instances of paternity fraud in the military?
All right. First of all, let's just put a little comedy in this, okay? When I was 17 to 22, I was slinging seed like an old bird feeder. All right, I'm not going to lie to you. It's just what it is, okay? Have I specifically seen anyone have to pay for a child that's not theirs? Yes and no. I have never seen it go down like you have seen, but I've seen service members who got married, adopted children that weren't theirs, and then had to pay child support on those children. And I believe I've covered that in Dupe the Next Dude, and in your particular instance, I covered it in DNA Getaway. Well, I'm glad I'm able to, bring some cheeriness to you after this crazy video. But I have redonkulous.com. It's redonkullas.com, and secondclasscitizen.org. And also, a lot of these videos, I wrote the scripts and I make up a lot of the material, but none of it would be possible without my producer, who could not be here today, because ironically, he films weddings. And we are in wedding season. All right. That guy is my other half, and he is really good at what he does, and he's just as passionate as I am, but it is what it is. You got to make a buck. Anybody else? All right, go.
First of all, thanks for being funny. It's nice to see. Suicide in the military in both Canada and the United States, probably in the UK as well, is actually a pretty major issue. I was wondering if you could perhaps shed some light on possible services or ability to get counseling or any support in that.
Well, first of all, from my observation, they are doing all that they can within their power to try to curb this horrible thing that's going on. Okay? But at the end of the day, what they do is they enforce the last 300 meters of our foreign policy. Okay? What is going on with these suicides is not military related. It's a sick society. Okay? When you build a situation or you put together an institution that could take an intangible away from you, like love and hope and everything else, it's evil. To be honest with you, I've seen I've seen the programs, and really they're doing a fantastic job with what they have. I think it would be much worse if they weren't. So, all being said, it is what it is. Yeah.
Yeah, I've got one more question. I don't know if I'll get this is an actual question. I'm a veteran. My experience in the military was that as men were stripped by family courts, and I did see paternity fraud cases in the military, the military command turned their backs on the soldiers. That's what I saw. I'm not speaking to the services that are provided for soldiers after they come back from combat and the support that they're getting. But part of the problem I saw, but I was in the military many years ago, and I'm hoping you can tell me that it has changed, because the way it was when I was in was that if you got in any kind of an accusation or a paternity allegation or a bitter divorce, you were pretty much on your own.
That's pretty much how it goes.
Okay.
Well, now listen, they are in the business of enforcing the last 300 meters of foreign policy. They are not in the business of what needs to happen. Okay, now it does happen a lot. I'm not going to lie to you, but you know, as a former first sergeant, I've had to deal with these issues. I myself did not turn my back on these soldiers. I told them where to go. I picked up a couple times to take out the yellow pages and go, hey man, you're going to call this guy here, and we're going to talk to him. And how about you find out what his retainer is, and we'll put an allotment so your pay can go to pay for his, you know, what needs to be done. And you just have to care. Obviously, there's some stuff that went on when you were there that you didn't have that. So, I mean, at the end of the day, I always try to be the sergeant that, you know, that one day all of you here, okay, are going to have to box up a child or a grandchild, and you're going to have to send them to war. Okay? Maybe it'll be a niece or nephew, but it's going to happen, because war is not going to go away. It's been here since the beginning of time, and it will be the end of us. Okay? Now, this is the sergeant I try to be. That when and if that day comes, you will get on your knees and you will pray to the great Maker to protect your loved one. And then you will pray for your loved one to fall on the books of a sergeant such as I. It's just that simple. Watch the videos.
Been around.
Thank you, Terrence. I think we should work very, very hard to ensure that this kind of injustice to the people that put their lives at risk, that this sort of nonsense stops. We should be treating these people with the utmost care. And it is appalling to me that we're not doing everything we can to give them the type of support that these people deserve. It is unacceptable to me to watch this video and to know that this is happening today. It happened yesterday, and it's going to happen tomorrow. It has to change.